Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Germany on high alert over terror threat. Deadly Israeli airstrike rocks Gaza City. And Israel approves Lebanon Ghajar pullout. Mosaic World News from the Middle East begins now.
دافع وزير الخارجية البريطاني ويليام هيغ عن إعلان حكومته دفع تعويضات لمعتقلين سابقين في غوانتانامو.
British Foreign Secretary William Hague defended his country's compensation deal made with former Guantanamo detainees who had sued British security services after accusing them of complicity in their torture.
الخطوة ضرورية بالنسبة للأمن القومي. وقال إن إجراء المحاكمات
In a press conference at the UN headquarters in New York, Hague indicated the deal was necessary to preserve national security. He added that a trial would have threatened the country's security services. This comes after the British government reached a compensation deal demanded by 16 former Guantanamo detainees without revealing the sum of the compensation.
أعلن وزير الداخلية الألماني أن هناك مؤشرات جدية على اعتداءات يتم التخطيط.
The German Interior Minister announced that there are serious indications an attack on his country may be planned for the end of this month.
إن هذه المعلومات وصلت إلى بلاده عن طريق جهاز استخباراتي.
The German minister said his country received information through a foreign intelligence service. He added that the threat will be met with heightened security measures in the airports and train stations.
ألمانيا تحت وطأة التهديد بوجود مخطط لتنفيذ هجمات.
Authorities in Berlin announced that Germany is facing a terror threat.
في برلين والتي أكدت تعزيز الإجراءات الأمنية في المطارات ومحطات.
They confirmed that security measures have been heightened in airports and train stations across the country. So when do authorities expect these attacks?
السلطات حصول الهجمات.
حسب المعلومات التي وصلتنا.
A tip received from one of our foreign partners revealed that there is a plan to carry out an attack in Germany at the end of November. In addition, the latest investigation by the German police confirms the determination of extremists to carry out attacks.
ولم يستبعد الوزير الألماني عمليات تفتيش على الحدود مع دول منطقة الشنغن.
The German minister did not rule out heightened checks at the borders of the European Schengen zone in order for the country to have information on all those who enter its territory. This comes after increased speculation in the past few months over the presence of armed German individuals who trained in camps along the Afghan-Pakistan border and are now ready to return to Germany.
وتستعد الآن للعودة إلى ألمانيا.
I believe we should act more forcefully in the face of terrorism and exert more effort to combat it.
ومنذ فترة طويلة تعتبر.
For a long time, Germany has considered itself a possible target since it has nearly 5,000 soldiers in Afghanistan working under the leadership of NATO. This latest development comes weeks after the interception of mail bombs found on cargo planes traveling from Yemen and the mailing of parcel bombs to foreign embassies in Greece.
Thousands of people have staged demonstrations against Indian rule in the Indian-administered Kashmir. Press TV's Shana Butt has the details in this report.
While Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha, thousands of people took to streets in Indian-administered Kashmir protesting against the Indian rule. Police opened fire and used tear gas shells to disperse the protesters. Protesters' clashes with Indian police throughout the region have resulted in injuries of 6 people. Restrictions have also been imposed by Indian authorities following a protest call by pro-independence leaders. Thousands of security forces were seen patrolling the streets of the summer capital, Srinagar. Meanwhile, the top pro-independence leaders, Mirwais Umar Farooq and Said Ali Shah Gilani, have been kept under house arrest. Authorities here in Indian-administered Kashmir say these restrictions have come as a precautionary measure to avoid any untoward incident that can lead to further problems in the already troubled region. However, the people of the region are unhappy with the government policy.
Today is the Eid al-Adha. Everyone knows, even the non-Muslims know, this is the holy festival for the Muslims. But for we Muslims in Kashmir, it is again the Eid in curfew. It's very ironic for the government of India.
This year's Eid al-Adha in Kashmir has come at a time when the region has witnessed the worst unrest, during which over 100 protesters and bystanders were killed in police firing. During the past 5 months, the valley region has remained closed for most of the time, following shutdown calls by the pro-independence camp as well as the curfews imposed by the government. Addressing the people after Eid prayers, the chairman of Jammu and Kashmir Liberation Front, Yasin Malik, reiterated that people of Kashmir must continue their peaceful protest.
Muslims are not terrorists. It's only Islam that brought message of peace to this earth. And peace can only prevail if the issues will be resolved. We are continuing our struggle peacefully with no weapon in hands. And we have right to demand our basic right.
Kashmir is divided between India and Pakistan but claimed in full by both. Since 1989, an anti-India unrest has raged in the part ruled by New Delhi, claiming an estimated 47,000 lives. Shahana Bhatt, Press TV, Indian-administered Kashmir.
In other news, at least 21 civilians have been killed during fighting between local fighters and African Union peacekeepers in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Most of the casualties occurred in two main markets in Mogadishu. 16 people were killed when AU troops started shelling Bakri market after an explosive device hit one of their convoys in the area. Another 5 civilians were killed in crossfire following a roadside bomb, and an ambush hit another AU convoy. 45 people have also been injured. African Union officials have confirmed the attacks on their convoys but gave no information about civilian casualties. Iran's president says Tehran and Baku play a major role in the progress and stability of the region. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad says Iran and Azerbaijan share common policies regarding the Caspian Sea. He made the remarks during a joint press conference with his Azerbaijani counterpart in Baku. Ilham Aliyev, for his part, described as important an agreement with Tehran to develop cooperation in energy and transportation. The Iranian president has also met with Azerbaijan's prime minister and foreign minister. Ahmadinejad is in Baku to attend a summit on the Caspian Sea. Other countries to attend are Russia, Turkmenistan, and Kazakhstan. The 3-day meeting is aimed at resolving legal issues over the ownership and use of the sea's vast energy resources.
أهلا بكم وقبل تفصيل هذه العناوين نبدأ بقطاع غزة فقد أكدت.
Welcome. Before we go to Gaza, medical sources confirmed that one Palestinian was martyred and another was severely injured when a car exploded in central Gaza City. The Minister of Interior in the ousted government said that the explosion was caused by an Israeli shell targeting a car tonight.
فيما أكد الناطق باسم الجيش الإسرائيلي.
Meanwhile, a spokesman for the Israeli army confirmed that there was an airstrike on Gaza, but he did not clarify the purpose of the strike. Joining us from Gaza is our correspondent Samir Abu Shamala. Samir, do you have more details?
نعم الحبيب قبل ساعة ونصف من الآن كان هناك قد سمع دوي انفجار كبير في.
Yes, Habib. 1.5 hours ago, a major explosion was heard in Gaza City. The ousted Palestinian Minister of Interior in Gaza said this explosion was caused by an Israeli shell targeting a civilian car, a white Subaru, in the middle of the city.
نوع سيبارو بيضاء اللون في وسط المدينة وحيث هذا الانفجار.
This explosion, or Israeli shelling, led to the martyring of Mohammed Yassin and injured his brother Islam Yassin. According to Palestinian medical sources in Gaza, Islam Yassin was severely wounded. The Israeli army did not give any clear explanation for this shelling, but confirmed there was an airstrike in the city when the explosion happened. However, the army did not clarify the purpose, the exact time or place of this explosion. The shelling targeted this car that was driven by 2 Palestinian men from the resistance, or more precisely, from groups or cells of the Army of Islam organization in Gaza City and the Gaza Strip. The Israeli army is targeting these groups, accusing them of being involved in planning attacks on Israeli and American targets.
في موضوع آخر قرر المجلس الوزاري المصغر لشؤون السياسة.
In another development, Israel's mini-cabinet on political and security affairs approved the withdrawal from the northern part of the Ghajar village, but did not announce a scheduled date. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had proposed a security plan to the UN Secretary General to be completed in coordination with UNIFIL forces stationed in southern Lebanon in order to pave the way for the withdrawal. Joining us from Jerusalem for the additional details is our correspondent Ilyas Karam. Go ahead, Ilyas.
نعم، لربما السؤال الأبرز في هذا القرار هو التوقيت. لماذا اختارت إسرائيل تحديدا هذا التوقيت لاتخاذ هذا القرار؟
Perhaps the most notable question in relation to this decision is the timing. Why did Israel choose to make this decision right now? Officially, Israel is saying it did so because its coordination with UNIFIL forces over security arrangements were finalized. In addition, Israel is saying that it is fulfilling its obligations imposed by the UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which ended the war on Lebanon and called on Israel to withdraw from all Lebanese territories. However, some are seeing this decision as an Israeli attempt to reduce international pressure on it in relation to the stalled peace process with the Palestinians. It is as if Israel wants to offer something to the international community in terms of a limited withdrawal from Arab land, in this case from the northern part of the village of Ghajar. However, some are also attempting to link the timing of this decision to the eventual outcome of Hariri's assassination tribunal. It seems that Israel wants to support the position of the moderates in the government. Some are saying, most notably the IDF's Chief of General Staff, that they are expecting Hezbollah's legitimacy in Lebanon to be overturned. In this case, Israel would say that it withdrew in light of security considerations and to be in the clear of anything that may take place after this decision is issued. What is clear is that Israeli forces will withdraw from the northern part of the Ghajar village. However, its implementation has been postponed until security arrangements are completed with UNIFIL forces. Israel is expected to complete the arrangements in 30 days. Afterward, the decision will return to the mini-cabinet to reissue and specify an official time frame, which could take many months and will probably be finalized next spring. It all depends on the decision of the Israeli government. Today, the residents of Ghajar demonstrated against the decision and re-emphasized their rejection to the entry of UNIFIL forces in their village. They said that they will forcefully address the entry of these forces and confirmed that the resolution of the status of the village is supposed to be resolved within the negotiations with Syria. The reason being that they consider the village of Ghajar as part of the 5 villages occupied by Israel and part of the Syrian territories occupied in 1967. In Israel, they view the decision as stripping the Lebanese resistance of any pretext to attack Israel in the future. However, Israel's decision was made independently of the Lebanese government, so it remains flawed politically.
More now on the IDF withdrawal from Ghajar. A short while ago, I spoke with Dr. Jonathan Spire of the Global Research and International Affairs Center in Herzliya, who said Ghajar has been linked with Hezbollah terrorists in the past.
I think it will take no time at all. That's to say, there was a great deal of optimism, of course, following the 2006 war, that the beefed-up UNIFIL force would start to make a difference. The fact is that the rules of engagement that UNIFIL accepted upon itself meant that without any problems whatsoever, Hezbollah could immediately begin reorganizing and have been reorganizing and rearming furiously south of the Litani, more or less since August 14th, since the ceasefire ended the war of 2006. The departure of the IDF from northern Ghajar almost inevitably will leave a similar vacuum, which will be filled very quickly by the real power south of the Litani, which is and remains the Hezbollah organization.
Are the residents of the village caught between Israel and Hezbollah, or are they willingly collaborating with the terror group?
They are not willingly collaborating for the most part. That's to say, if we look at the experience at least between 2000 and 2006, what happens is that certain residents of the village can certainly be bought off. Hezbollah has money, Hezbollah has drugs, Hezbollah can find the weaknesses of people in the way that other organizations can. But by and large, the population of Ghajar doesn't want into any of this. That's to say, the situation which they want is a similar situation to that enjoyed or dealt with by the residents of the Golan, the non-Israeli, non-Jewish residents of the Golan, which is that they would like to keep their Israeli citizenship, receive services from Israel, and be part of arrangements including the Golan Heights. So if the Golan Heights is ever given back to Syria, they'll go back with it. Until that day, they would rather stay with Israel.
Well, until that happens, will we ever see the time when Israel can withdraw from the southern part of Ghajar?
No, I think there's no question of Israel withdrawing from the southern part of Ghajar. It's important to understand the somewhat complex details behind this. The point is that when Israel unilaterally withdrew from the South Lebanese security zone in 2000, the UN then drew the blue line, which is the border between the two, and it drew it across Ghajar, because northern Ghajar is in a sense a part of Ghajar which developed by itself, so to speak, by a natural process across the border. But Ghajar itself, there's no ambiguity about it, was captured by Israel as part of the capture of the Golan Heights in '67. So southern Ghajar is firmly in Israel. Northern Ghajar is a new development, which is why it's quite why this ambiguity has arisen.
Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, has threatened to cause problems for the government of Lebanon if a UN tribunal issues indictments accusing some of his operatives as participating in the assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. What can he do?
Well, the fact of the matter is that Hassan Nasrallah and the Hezbollah organization are the de facto power today in Lebanon. That's to say, they can do whatever they want to do. But precisely because that is the situation, in my estimation at least, it's not likely that Hezbollah and Nasrallah will attempt a takeover of power in Lebanon, as some have talked about. In terms of power, they already have all the power they need in Lebanon. If their members are indicted by the Special Tribunal on Lebanon, what I think Hezbollah will actually do is they will say, okay, we have no intention of handing anybody over to you. It's your move. And that, I think, is the most likely situation. What's happening right now, I think, is a kind of information operations on part of Hezbollah, where they're trying, in a certain sense, to intimidate the international community. They're trying to say to the international community, don't even think about it. You don't want to try to indict our members for the murder of Rafik al-Hariri.
Dr. Jonathan Spire of the Gloria Center, thank you very much.
Thanks.
A few days after security forces arrested Omar Bakri, Hezbollah announced they would advocate for this man who is charged with executing terrorist operations. This has raised doubts about Hezbollah's motives for making such a move. Rania Sanja reports.
Omar Bakri Fustuq. أوقفته القوى الأمنية في 14 من
Omar Bakri Fustuq was arrested by security forces on November 14th in Tripoli. The Lebanese military court sentenced him to life in prison on charges of affiliation with a militant group aimed at committing criminal acts and undermining the state authority and prestige.
وتضمنت التهمة الحض على القتل والنهب والتخريب من خلال
He is also accused of inciting to kill, pillage, and vandalize through possessing weapons and acquisition of explosive and inflammatory materials, in addition to assisting criminals escape justice.
بكري كان ضمن 47 شخصا صدرت ضدهم يوم الخميس الماضي أحكام تتراوح بين السجن.
Bakri was one of the 47 people sentenced last Thursday to between 3 months to life in prison. But only a day before his arrest, the Islamic cleric appeared on television and requested protection from the Secretary General of Hezbollah.
لحزب الله.
I asked Mr. Hassan Nasrallah to look into the suffering of Omar Bakri, a Salafi who triumphs in any operation resisting the Israeli enemy, the US and the UK in Iraq and Afghanistan.
وسرعان ما لبى حزب الله الطلب فكلف النائب في كتلته.
Hezbollah quickly responded to the request and commissioned a representative, lawyer Nawar Sahiri, to represent Bakri as his defense lawyer in court.
إعلانا عن احتضان من شخص متهم بالانتماء إلى جماعة مسلحة.
This move by Hezbollah is the equivalent of endorsing a person accused of affiliating with a militant group, assisting terrorists and providing them with weapons, and who is being pursued by Lebanese law.
فهل كل من يكون مطلوبا للعدالة أو متهما يمكنه الهرب؟
Can everyone who is pursued by the Justice Department or accused of crimes escape to the arms of Hezbollah and find protection there? Or will Hezbollah respond to a call for appeal every time?
I'm from the Shiites, a descendant of Ali and Hussein. New TV has received exclusive footage of the documentary produced by Abdul Rahman al-Rashid's media organization on the assassination of Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. This report by my colleague Christine Habib.
Beirut, the 14th of February, 2005.
ها هي القصة التي تشبه بفصولها الأفلام.
The story seems as if it was inspired by the movies and eventually turned into one, or rather a documentary as classified by its makers, entitling it Murder in Beirut. It narrates the assassination of Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. British company ORTV, which is owned by the head of al-Arabiya, Saudi Abdul Rahman al-Rashid, produced a documentary. According to information revealed by journalist Ibrahim al-Amin in the Al-Akhbar newspaper, influential parties in Lebanon and Saudi Arabia, in addition to 2 Arab and European countries, contributed to the production of the documentary under the direct supervision of al-Rashid.
مع فائض في المؤثرات الخاصة والموسيقى التصويرية
Through the film's use of the documentary style and dramatic elements, in combination with its abundant use of special effects and graphic music, the film attempts to portray Hezbollah and Syria as those accused of the crime. The series of events and interviews are strategically placed to reinforce this theory. It even films bearded young men having phone conversations and preparing explosive devices before placing them in a Mitsubishi truck. Even more so, a document in English appears on screen entitled Hezbollah Behind Hariri Assassination, claiming that in the few weeks before the crime was committed, elements in Hezbollah were monitoring Hariri's movements and waiting for the opportunity to assassinate him. The document adds that a respected commander, born in the village of Nabatiye on November 15, 1963, led the death squad. It claims that he currently lives in Dahieh and is the head of a secretive unit in Lebanon. According to the document, this unidentified person is accused of delivering the Mitsubishi truck, while a Hezbollah explosives unit was in charge of booby-trapping the vehicle, filling it with 1,000 kilograms of TNT, C4, and RDX explosives. It proceeds to claim that this is an indication that the unit was led by Hezbollah commander Haj Imad Moghniye. The documentary includes numerous interviews, and not just with the Hariri family. However, Minister Marwan Ahmedi and Major General Ashraf Rifi remain the undisputed protagonists. The first recounts private conversations.
He was sweating and stressed. He said, Assad openly threatened me.
ويقول لقد هددني صراحة. قال إما بتصوتوا معه.
He said, either you vote to re-elect Emil Lahoud or I'll break Lebanon on your and Walid Jumblat's heads.
The most notable interviews are those of investigator Detlef Mehlis and prosecutor Daniel Belmar.
We came to the conclusion that the assassination was politically motivated. It's hard to imagine that the crime was committed without the support, or at least knowledge, of the Lebanese and Syrian intelligence agencies.
The documentary starts by narrating Hariri's final moments and ends with the international role played by the Prime Minister. The film alternates between the location of the Ahmed Abu Adas tape and the DNA testing lab, passing by the extension of President Lahoud's term, the March 14 demonstrations, and the Syrian withdrawal. In addition, it enumerates in detail the work of Captain Wissam Eid, who is represented in the film as he investigates the cellular network case. The film adds that Eid's investigation revealed that the same phone numbers used to monitor Hariri were used to contact a Syrian intelligence official. It also recounts the Nahr al-Barid events. The documentary includes interviews with Walid Jumblat, Faris Bouez, David Satterfield, Imad Mustafa, Ali al-Hajj, Kamal Midhat, and Nawar al-Sahili. However, the bomb is dropped by former Syrian Vice President Abdul Halim Qaddam.
Bashar is like a fickle child. When I met Bashar, he was stressed. He said he'd just met Hariri. He told me Hariri had been playing games. Hariri thought he could select the president. Bashar told him, I'll choose the president. We're the ones who put you in power.
The documentary also mentioned the Der Spiegel report, said to be a valuable source of information.
في
إندونيسيا أكبر البلاد الإسلامية في العالم من حيث عدد السكان احتشد الآلاف من المسلمين.
In Indonesia, the largest Muslim country by population, thousands of Muslims gathered this morning at the Qutmat Mosque to perform the Eid prayer. As Indonesians mark the first day of the blessed Eid al-Adha holiday today, many tried not to think of the disasters that struck their country last month, including a tsunami and the eruption of the Merapi volcano. In Bangladesh, the second largest Muslim country, thousands of worshippers converged on local mosques across the capital of Dhaka. Thousands of Pakistanis also attended the Eid prayer in mosques amidst strict security measures in anticipation of looming terrorist attacks.
تحسبا لوقوع اعتداءات إرهابية.
Their language may be different, but they celebrate Eid al-Adha in the same way as their Arab counterparts. Turkish Muslims marked the Eid today by performing prayer, sacrifice, and visiting their loved ones, whether they are dead or alive. Iman Nassar reports from Ankara.
Turks follow certain rituals during Eid al-Adha. They begin the day by performing prayers, rejoicing and praising God. They celebrate the Eid amidst happiness and joy, shared by Muslims around the world. After performing Eid prayers, they pick rihan flowers and water and visit the cemetery, where they pray for the dead and ask God for mercy by reciting the first chapter of the Quran, known as al-Fatiha.
After performing the Eid prayer, we either return immediately home or go visit our relatives.
After visiting the cemetery, the sacrifice ritual begins, with each family sacrificing an animal. The family keeps some of the meat at home and gives the rest to their neighbours and relatives, especially the poor and needy. As part of the Eid traditions, men visit their female relatives at their homes, which are usually well decorated and scented. The men continue their Eid tour, moving from one home to another, where they get to eat sweets and drink juice specially made for the holiday. It's a sign of love and celebration.
After sacrificing the animal, we put part of the meat in bags and distribute it to the needy, asking God to bless us.
وفي تركيا كما في العالم الإسلامي يشمل العيد الأطفال بجميل.
In Turkey, like the rest of the Muslim world, the children receive toys and gifts which bring joy to them. Around noon, the family gathers around the dining table for a scrumptious lunch, specially prepared for Eid. After lunch, they eat sweets including baklava and other famous Turkish delicacies.
وغيرها من الحلويات التي تشتهر بها الأيادي التركية الماهرة.
Turkey, just like any other Muslim nation, which believes in God and follows the sayings of his Prophet, is living the Eid in its entirety, including its rituals and traditions, portraying a brilliant picture of a civilized nation that respects its religion and lives by its beliefs. Iman Nassar, Dubai TV, Ankara.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible from support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news. Read our blog. Get transcripts of past shows and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.